What is up, YouTube? We're back, baby. It's your boy Fitz. And contrary to some rumors of me uploading one video and retiring from YouTubing, I am in fact back with a YouTube series that I'm pumped to do. So, for those unaware, I'm competing in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Edison format War League, which is essentially a sports season style competition for Edison format Yu-Gi-Oh! There are 32 total teams, 8-man rosters. Each week, you guys get pitted up against each other. It's best of 5, so each team has a starting 5. They play each other in one match each. The team that wins 3 or more matches wins the week, and then the teams with the best records move on to the playoffs, and ultimately a champion is crowned. So yeah, super exciting. It's very fun. Thankful for Beast Mode, all the moderators that organize it, and I'm very excited to play in Season 2 of this. If we pop over to the all-in-one spreadsheet, you can see this is where we track all the data and keep track of standings, etc., for how we're figuring out the playoffs as we go. The team I'm on is Team Crow's Nest, so we got a pretty stacked roster if you ask me. I know I'm a little biased, but we got Corinna, who has multiple online tournament tops, Snack, who runs the Crow's Nest Retro Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube channel, runs the Deck Devastators events, and does awesome breakdowns of meta and data for those, has a couple tops herself. Fen, very solid player. Your boy Fitz himself. We have Mr. Maple, the legend of the game, giant. Yumero, also a player with multiple online tournament tops. RBET Season 2 Rulers World Champion, Dimitri, obviously very good player. And then the newest addition to our squad this season, Monado Boy, who some of you may not have known, but very solid zombie player, plays a couple decks. Definitely a great addition to have on the squad. So yeah, I have high hopes for what we can accomplish this season. Crow's Nest barely didn't make the playoffs last year, so we're coming out firing this year, excited to bounce back and try to squeeze into a playoff spot this time around. And with all that being said, let's hop into the replay review of my Week 1 War League Season 2 matchup. So we are up against BenDFut Edison. Let's hop right into it. So my team did some scouting, and this guy actually played... So last season he played Hero Beat for 1 week, and then proceeded to play Flameville Zombie Assault Mode for the other 3 weeks that he played in, which is mega based. I love me some Flameville Zombies. So I wasn't sure what I was going to be up against here. Was prepared for Assault Mode antics, but ready for Hero Beat or just anything in general. And as you can probably tell from my opening hand, based on some scouting my team did, we thought that my Dragon deck was a pretty good pick for this week because of how good Quackimero Drago looked like it was going to be into our opponent's expected decks, because this team played in the War League last year, and they played a lot of Vayu Turbo and Zombies and stuff where Drago was really strong. So we decided it would be in our best interest for me to load up Dragons. And yeah, I'm just going to show my hand and hide his so I can kind of talk through, things from my perspective, why I made the plays I did, what I think I did well, what I did poorly, and just kind of go from there. Obviously, this hand is not the best. You want to be opening your Future Fusion, not your Wyverns and Prime Material. This is all stuff you want to be sending to the graveyard ideally. But we at least won the die roll, and we're going to make do with what we can. Not sure what I'm up against quite yet. I just lead on set Raikou, set Dust Tornado, because I don't want to pass up a normal summon, and just hope it doesn't get punished by our floater swinging into it or something like that. He summons Alias, which I'm completely fine with. I've historically done pretty well against Hero Beat with this deck, and it's nothing that it's not Stratos, which is going to go +1 to this Raikou. This trades 1-for-1 cleanly, so we're definitely okay with that. Hope to hit something good off the mills, which we don't. But milling a Dragon's not the end of the world for reviving with Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon later on. So then he just sets 1 past. We end phase Dust Tornado that. Yeah. And then we go to main. I think for a bit here about whether I actually want to summon the Wyvern to start getting in some damage or just set the bottomless. So we basically know he doesn't have Stratos yet because he probably would have led on it into a T set. And he's already used one Alias, so obviously the concern with summoning the Wyvern is it could just get run over by Alias, and if we try to bottomless it, he could chain Gem Spark for a +1. But I figured there's uh, enough reasons to just hope that he doesn't have exactly Alias plus Spark, and we can bottomless any potential like Deep Sea Diva synchro that he tries to beat over this. If he summons Stratos and crashes, it's not the end of the world, and it could potentially tribute for this. So I was like, yeah, it's probably just best to get in some damage and hope he doesn't punish me with exactly Alias plus Spark. So that's what we do. And we pass. I think he's able to find, so he finds his Stratos. I'm not 100% sure if he chose to summon the Alias turn 1 to like maybe beat over a hamster, or if he just drew the Stratos return. I feel like he probably just drew the Stratos. We opt not to bottomless here. We're fine with this crash, honestly. So like while he gets the search, this has value in graveyard. And then it also opens up his life points for like hitting in with the next one. We want to save our bottomless for something that's more threatening. And then I think he actually just passes. Yeah, he sets one and passes here. So he does have the Alias in the graveyard. I think about how I want to proceed from here after upstarting, I'm pretty sure. Yep, so we pick up Brain Control. And then here, I was trying to figure out why he didn't crash. And my thinking was he might have a Hero Blast that he was potentially trying to get some value off of and protect the Stratos. Or, and then I was basically trying to decide whether I wanted to summon the Prime Material, and I thought, okay, if it's Hero Blast, Bottomless, Mirror Force, Torrential, none of those actually stop the Prime Material. If it's Dimensional Prison, that gets punished pretty hard, but then we have the Torrential to potentially get a 2-for-1 back. So I ultimately decide to risk the Dimensional Prison and go for the Prime Material, because it's kind of awkward to get it in play, and this Wyvern isn't, 1800 is pretty small against Hero Beats, probably going to get beat over eventually. So that's what I ultimately decided to do, and it does end up just being Mirror Force, which is great for us. All we were hoping to dodge was the Dimensional Prison, and we do. So now, Prime Material can be really good against Hero Beat because it stops Hero Blast, stops Gemini Spark, Mirror Force, Bottomless, like we were talking about. So like he can't get the 2-for-1 because if Prime Material negates this, then he doesn't get his draw. So he's forced to just spark the Bottomless for an even trade for us. And we can start just getting in there with the Prime Material. We set this behind it. Obviously, we want to get the Dust Shoot off while we can. The Torrential was just in case of like a water into a Miracle Fusion. We don't want him to just like clear all our stuff for free, so we would have the Torrential down for that. I see off the Dust Shoot, which now we can show both, now that we have the full info, that he has 2 dead Sparks, and we're about to take his only water. And we know at this point he basically has nothing to stop this Prime Material, so Wyvern plus Prime Material is just going to be exactly game through the back row that aren't doing anything. So we go up a game, despite drawing pretty meh. So we're feeling really good about that, and we're gonna see how game 2 goes. So this hand's not the best, but we don't have another dragon to reveal for Draco, and I brought in Trap Stun, which is like okay in this matchup. I should hide his hand. But the presence of Gemini Spark makes this a liability at times. It's like it can get picked off for free. Dust Tornado's typically better, but this one like maximum back row hate essentially. And yet we have Gores, which is a nice fallback as well. So it's definitely not the worst. We got Compulse for the turn 1 synchro. So yeah, obviously just upstart. Brain Control is kind of awkward in this matchup. I was debating whether I should side this out moving forward, because like it's hard to use effectively in this deck, and it's hard to kind of use effectively against Hero Beat in general when their stuff is like Alias that they can chain Spark to. But ultimately, we just decided to set the Compulsive Pass here. If he summons a guy, I basically want him to summon Stratos here, ideally. Something he feels comfortable committing, and then when Stratos swings direct, we could chain Compulse on the Android and then drop the Gores. I think he ultimately decides to just swing with the Androids. We're like, alright, we're not taking the 24, let's bounce it back. And then he just sets one and passes. Still don't have another Dragon for Drago, which is annoying, so don't really want to summon him. And, if this back row isn't anything, don't want the Drago just dying for free. So I decided I think about full passing, but I decided to set the Prison. If he just does something like summon an Alias, we can Prison that with no risk of the Spark going 2 for 1. And I don't want to super telegraph the Gores. So yeah, I decided to just play my cards. And then he passes again, and we finally drew a Dragon to go with the Drago. So we're gonna swing in. I'm hoping this is like a Bottomless or Mirror Force or something, just so we can use the My Body, but it's a Prison, so that's gonna get banished, and we're still kind of just chilling with nothing much to do. The DV here is kind of awkward, because he does what he should do, which is just swing in with both, and I don't really want to Prison the Gilman. Ideally, we save the Prison for whatever Synchro he goes into. Because, if I Prison the Gilman and then he has, I don't want to just summon the Debris and have to try to beat over it with the Debris, because that feels bad. You want to save this for when you actually have stuff in your graveyard, as well as, if he, protects the tuner, then it can be bad. So we just take the damage, trust we'll get another chance to drop the Gores at some point. Goes for Android. Dust Tornado. I like to full pass here, and I think this was a mistake. I think I should have set the Dust Tornado. Yeah, I was kind of just overly fixated on getting this Gores in play ASAP, and I think the Dust Tornado actually would have been better for doing so. Because he summons, I think he ultimately, we'll show here. He ultimately summons Stratos, which is to be expected alongside here. And if I had the Dust Tornado set, then I think I might have been able to bait him into letting me drop a big Gores. So yeah, here I deprison the Stratos, hoping that he swings in with the Android and lets me drop it. But if I had the Dust Tornado down, I think he definitely swings in. Then we can Dust Tornado, hit his set, drop the Gores, and then hopefully can swing it back to the front foot from there. I think his hand is really strong, if I remember correctly, so I think I still would have lost this game, because my hand's kind of awkward. Even if I did get the Gores in play there, he had a good combination of back row and Miracle Fusion and everything you'd want in a Hero Beat hand, so it was going to be a tough one to win going second. But yeah, I definitely think I should have got the Dust Tornado down ahead of time there. That was a mistake. So we get it down now, and now I'm in this spot where I want to ideally hold it for the second attack, but I have the My Body as a shield, so I do the math, and this is 4,300. So that puts me down to 1,400 if I take both hits and drop the Gores, which means this My Body is dead. So I decided to Dust Tornado here and just get the Gores in play, and then, hope that the Gores plus My Body can just start beating over his stuff. However, this kind of goes worst case scenario for me, where I drop it, beats over the token, and then before I can get the My Body in play, he sparks my dude, sets 3, and now I'm in a lot of trouble. And then this Dust Shoot's just kind of the icing on the cake. Now he knows I have nothing to stop him. Drawing the Gold Sark return really stinks. This card, it can be pretty bad at times. When you need answers to stuff and you top deck it late, it can be bad. You really want to find it in your opening 6 or your first few draws to get to that Future Fusion. At this point, it's kind of too late, especially when the rest of my hand is dead. So he Dust Shoots. He knows that he has me, basically, and I'm just going to die on the next turn. And that was game number 2. So we get to go first in game 3, so let's see what happens here and if we can pull it back after losing game 2 there and some potentially suboptimal play. right off the bat, this is not what you want to see for your opening hand. Opening one red eyes is usually fine. Opening two is like very, very difficult for this deck to get into play because I don't play a ton of dragons. It's just the 3 debris and the 3 wyvern, and the wyverns like get bottomless a lot. So it's like tough to actually stick a dragon to specialties out of hand, and getting 2 in play. I don't. This is the reason why I only play 2 is because I don't want to open 2. It can be really tough, and game 3, here we are, 2 red eyes is with no normal summonable dragons. So we're like, not what you want to see. Yeah, and then to lead off this game, I believe I just set the bottomless. We don't want this Raikou like trading with a Stratos that just gives him a free plus. We want to save it for popping back rows. So just get the bottomless down in case he leads on Alias or Summon Diva, I think is slightly better, and wait for him to set back row before committing the Raikou. So he just summons Gilman, and I decided to bottomless that. Obviously, the reason, if that's his best summon, probably is only water, just kind of want to get rid of it and go from there, especially when our hand's kind of weak, just don't want to be taking damage. So now that he's got back row, we feel safe to set the Raikou, so we can, even if you summon Stratos, we can pop the back row instead. I opt to set both the Dust Tornado and the My Body. Dust Tornado being, potentially end phase snipe additional back row, or I saw Skill Drain game 2. So if you go, if this, flips Skill Drain, and when he swings in with my Raikou, I want to have the answer to that, as well as I want the Spark down, I want the My Body down in case he tries to Nobleman of Crossout or Gemini Spark my set. I risk this being like a pro set Heavy Storm where he gets the 2-for-1, but I think there's enough reason to set 2 and take that risk. And then here, so here he just sets 3. And because of Skill Drain being a thing, I choose to not just blindly Dust Tornado. I want to be able to flip up the Raikou, and then if he chains Skill Drain, be able to hit that with the Dust Tornado. So we hold here. And worth noting is, so he leads on set 1, and then he sets 3 here, which means one of these new 3 is likely Starlight Road or Solemn Judgment, insurance from Heavy Storm, and that is something that I should have kept closer to the forefront of my mind in a couple turns, and we'll discuss why when we get there. Just pick Upstart into another Dust Tornado, nothing happening. Really hoping that we can mill something good off this Raikou, and then ideally draw a dragon so we can get the Red Eyes Darkest Metal Dragon into play. So he finds a Diva, that's whatever. Swings in with both. He gives me a thumbs up. So I just wanted to make sure that he's not flipping Skill Drain or Light Imprisoning or something along those lines before flipping up the Raikou. And then, okay, so here I definitely think I should have hit the middle back row, because I know one of the 3 new ones is likely Starlight Road, which it ends up being, and I don't really care about that because I don't have any mass destruction effects, as well as I don't have any mass destruction effects, and I think the first back row is also likely to be like a MST or Dust Tornado, because if they know what they're doing against me, they should be setting those ASAP so they have a way to stop my future fusion. So I think the combination of those two, this Raikou in the damage step when they can't chain something like an MST or Dust Tornado, should have gone after the middle set. So that's definitely something worth noting. And then here, so then here I do draw a dragon, but you cannot banish this for cost to summon Red Eyes because of its continuous effect. Neither can Special Light or Dark. So despite it not being on the field, if you were to banish it to special this, you're not allowed to attempt to do so. So I do decide to just normal summon it. Reason being I do so before going after back row is because if he has a bottomless, I want to use this My Body and then Dust Tornado the other two, because I don't want to risk starting to Dust Tornado and then hit a Dust Tornado or MST that he can then chain, destroying my body as a shield. So we try to fish for the bottomless first. He doesn't have it. And then once this walks, I know I really want this to, my hand isn't doing anything. Again, I don't want to open Red Eyes, and I opened both. And then again, like this, I might start setting out Brain Control against Hero Beat. Like, it really can be hard to convert this card in this matchup. So my hand isn't doing a lot. So I'm like, I need this Drago to stick badly. So if I run into a Mystical Space Typhoon or Dust Tornado and get my Body sniped, that'll stink. But I really want to like fish for his Battle Trap here. So that's what I start doing with the Dust Tornadoes. And again, this is where I should have remembered that the middle one is the old one, and these ones were the new one that he set on that one turn. So again, likely being Solemn Judgment or Starlight Road. So because of that being the case, I think I definitely should have Dust Tornadoed. Like I said earlier, I should have Raikou the first one in case of MST or Dust Tornado, but then I ended up Dust Tornadoing the non-middle sets, and none of this back row was impactful for me, and I end up missing the one that does matter, and this, I think, completely cost me the game. And I was definitely kicking myself in the moment and after, upon reviewing the replay, of like, I just got to pay more attention to the order my opponent sets back row, and make those reads for those educated guesses with the back row removal. Because if this walks, I'm able to clear the Diva. You can see in his hand he says Ocean and Vortex, and I have the My Body as a shield for Lightning Vortex, so he has no way to clear this. This is just going to be able to beat over both his monsters, and from there I'll be in a very good position. But because it gets deprisoned, then all of a sudden I'm now on the back foot, and kind of gets me into a tough spot from here. So, yep, we have no way to stop these attacks. Having the Drago to beat over them would have been very clutch. So we've set a back row. Here we pick up the Caius. We finally have something to convert off the Brain Control, but he draws the Dust Shoot for turn, which is like worst case scenario. That hurt. Again, like something, this wouldn't have been able to answer my Drago in play. Like, realistically, he probably would have Vortexed my Drago, or maybe we'd be able to get in for some damage with it or whatever. But yeah, he does shoots, and he's like, oh, like he now knows, like, I got nothing going on up here till I find a dragon. Takes the threat of Caius, because Brain Caius is obviously really good. So at this point, I'm like, I do not like my odds of winning. Finds Future Fusion, which is, not the worst, but it's going to be, another threat incoming in a couple turns that I got to find an answer to. So things are not looking great for me. We desperately need to find a dragon to start summoning these guys. So he finally goes for Android and passes. And then we do draw a Compulse, which is nice. Finding a way to out this is good to relieve the immediate pressure. We still need to find a dragon ASAP, though, to get this thing going. So we're able to just Compulse that. He summons Ocean here, which is fine. And then sets one pass. And then we finally find the dragon. And then here's where we have to think long and hard about how we want to play this. So we know next turn he has the Absolute Zero coming down off of Future Fusion. And I don't actually have a way to stop that from wiping my board. Because if he just like swings in with the Absolute Zero and it activates in damage step, you can't actually activate the My Body as a shield in the damage step, so it'll trigger and wipe my board. As well as, we don't really want this Ocean sticking around either, because letting him get back to Alias is kind of bad news. So after thinking long and hard, I decide to just essentially hope that this back row isn't something that can stop a Trident Dragon lethal line, which, um, you know, with brain control plus my body, we can actually stop a good amount of back row and force through lethal. So that's ultimately the play I decided to make, and just hope that it's not something like Compulse or Deprison, hope that it's a bluff or something that leads to destruction, so we can protect our board with the My Body and then find lethal with the summoning the 2 Red Eyes and Brain Control. So we start going for the play, which is this, revive the thing to bring out the Iron Chain, and then banish the Red Eyes for the other Red Eyes to summon back the Debris Dragon, and then ultimately go for the Trident Dragon, pop my board, go for game. This whole time, you can't really see it in the replay, but he's taking a while to think on these summons, which I take as I'm starting to think he has Bottomless Trap Hole set. I haven't seen any in his graveyard, and he's like thinking on each summon, so I'm like, okay, I wonder if he's like just trying to make sure he doesn't die, thinking about when to use his Bottomless to make sure he can live to see his Absolute Zero come down. So at this point, I'm like, okay, great. If it's Bottomless and we can force it with the My Body, then we should be good to squeeze in enough damage for game if he uses the Bottomless on the Trident Dragon. So here we go for the Brain Con. And Trident. So this is where I'm thinking, okay, if he goes to Bottomless, so this effect triggers, I'm targeting the Ocean, and I'm targeting my set, and if he activates Bottomless, we can chain the My Body, stopping his Bottomless, and then Trident Dragon effects goes through, and then we swing in, and we have game. If it's something like Compulse or Deprison, we unfortunately lose, but I felt like this was as good as my odds were going to get. He knew my whole hand from the dust shoot, and I had no way to stop the Absolute Zero, so I felt like I had to just kind of go for it and hope that it was Bottomless or just a bluff or something along those lines. And it ends up being Mystical Space Typhoon, which he chains on my My Body that I target. So because the MST destroys it and not the Trident Dragon, it only gains 1 additional attack, so I end up being just short of lethal. And then on his turn, the Absolute Zero comes down, and then that Vortex he's been holding to clear my field, attack for game, does get me. So that one stung. Taking a loss right off the bat, it's not how you want to start the season. And like I said, that one thing in Game 3 with how I used my Raikou and Dust Tornadoes, I definitely should have gone after the first set he had, which at that point would have put him on the back foot immensely. Would have been able to beat over both his monsters. I had the My Body for his Vortex, so we would have been able to put him under a ton of pressure early, and then probably would have been able to finish the job once we eventually drew into the Debris Dragon for the Red Eyes plays. So unfortunately, I think that one is that one's on me, and I consider myself a pretty good player, but I'm definitely prone to making mistakes. I think I definitely made one here by not paying closer attention to the order he set his back row in, and it ended up costing me. So that definitely stings, but it is what it is. I trust my team to bounce back. We're currently 0-2 on the week, so we need to win the next 3 matches, but I think we have some really strong players. We could definitely pull it off, and I'm looking forward to bouncing back, playing better for my matchup next week. And with that, I appreciate you all tuning in. I will catch you in the next one.